So I think it's safe to say that we're entering the post-mortem process of Battlefield 2042 just by looking at certain things going on in social media surrounding the game and just seeing how far the player base has fallen. I want to talk about where we're at now with this just absolute abomination of a launch, a piece of software, and a Battlefield title. Like the video down below and subscribe for everything FPS content, including Battlefield 2042. So as I record this video on January 13th, the player base currently playing Battlefield 2042 on Steam is 7,400, with a 24-hour peak of 8,200 players. And I know the fanboys are going to say that, well, because most people are buying it on Origin, it's just simply not true when it comes to the PC player base. If we can get it on Steam, we're most likely going to get it on Steam. I think what we're looking at here is the majority of players in Battlefield 2042. So it might not be 8,200 in the last 24 hours, but it might be somewhere around maybe 10 or 11, maybe 12,000. And then obviously you got to include the consoles, which they don't know, what a good game is anyway. So I'm not sure what those player numbers are. But a juicy tidbit of news hit my social media as well as some of the mainstream gaming journalists, in which a Battlefield 2042 cheat maker service is taking the hacks offline because, well, the game is dying. But also on top of that, they also said that it's due to the fact that the ongoing performance issue of the game affects the cheats, which is probably the biggest burn that I have seen in gaming history. I don't think I've ever seen a cheat maker take its cheats away from people because the game runs so fucking bad that it actually affects their service, and they're actually pulling it off also because the game is dying and nobody's using. Apparently this service is a subscription fee. Then they say that nobody is subscribing to Battlefield 2042. The game isn't even worth it to hack on at this point, which should tell you how popular, or I should say lack of popularity, the game has at the current moment. And I'm seeing a lot of speculation online about when they're going to pull the plug on this game, what they're going to do. When we look at what they sold us in the Ultimate Edition, which was the most expensive version, they offered us a year one pass as well as a Midnight Ultimate Bundle and obviously the official digital art book. But that year one pass is key here because they have to offer you 4 specialists, 1 per season, 4 battle passes, which is 1 per season, and 3 epic skin bundles. So when it comes to battle passes, we have a year's worth of content on the back end. Now, personally, I think that this content is going to be the bare minimum to fulfill what they pre-sold in the Ultimate Edition. I think the Battle Pass is going to have some cosmetics, not a lot, and not what people would expect from a game that has just completely touted live service multiplayer only. I think a lot of people who are holding out for this content are going to be disappointed. And on the topic of the low player count, when you actually look at the articles coming out now, that DICE is no longer tracking the player stats for Hazard Zone because the player count is so low. And apparently they weren't even tracking Hazard Zone stats, past a week after it launched back in November. The game is kind of on its last legs right now, and I really don't know how they're going to squeeze a year's worth of content with like the battle passes and the year one pass out of this game, because a year from now, it's just going to be a bunch of bots running around. There was an article on VG 24/7 in which they were talking about how players are becoming obsessed with 2042's shrinking player numbers as they reach new lows, and in it, they say that players' tracking of the game's numbers to a point that makes it seem like they want it to fail. I think a lot of people are tracking the numbers because we actually can't believe how bad this game launched and how quickly people are abandoning ship. I think I speak for almost everybody when I say that I want Battlefield 2042 to be a success, but in order for it to be that, it has to completely change absolutely everything about it and turn itself into an actual Battlefield title. I think the biggest thing is just like, we can't believe that this is the state of AAA FPS, and we're just watching it go down the hill and just in awe. Our mouths are agape in watching the player numbers dwindle. It's not that we want it to fail. We can't believe that something as big as Battlefield is failing. In another part of this article, they say in Battlefield 2042's case, this interest seems to be out of spite. As a longtime Battlefield player myself, with my own set of grievances with the game, I can't remember a time when the community has been this anxious for the game to fail. I think at this point, everybody knows the game is a failure, and they're just watching the last remnants of what we know as the Battlefield franchise just disappear. It's not an anxious as, oh man, I can't wait for it to hit zero. It's, man, I can't believe this shit hit zero. Unless something drastic happens with DICE and Ripple Effect and EA and Battlefield 2042, I think this is going to be my last video on it, because at this point, I think watching it go to less than, 10% of its original peak player base, there's really not much more to say about Battlefield 2042. And when the next game starts to get announced and teased and hyped up with cool trailers that show Ronda Zooks and everything else that Battlefield fans love, please, all I ask is that you remember what happened with 2042. And I'll be there to remind you all of exactly that. My name is BigFry. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video and subscribe for everything FPS, AAA, indie, and everything in between. And I'll see you on the next one.